peace. What's going on? It's Chief Servant, Kingdom Media Foundation. Terrence Frederick here. Just wanted to check in with you real quick. Wanted to drop a few things on you. I know one of the things that when I talk to people a lot, we circle around this concept of what is my purpose, what is my place, what is my function, how do I know, what do I want to do, should I go back to school, should I start a business, should I start a nonprofit, should I do these different things. And I've seen people go from not knowing who they were to really stepping into fulfillment and achieving the things that God wants them to achieve. So one of the things I like to do is take people through a process of questioning, self-contemplation, and see, how to focus in on what is important to them and how to know what is important to them. Because see, we have things in us that are important to us, but we have so much going on that we may not even be aware of what is important. So today, this is going to be a real short one. Just have 3 questions I want you to work with whenever you think about if you're struggling with your purpose or your focus or your priorities. I want you to think about 3 things that might help you walk through it. The first question is, what are the things that you like to collect? What are the things that you like to collect? If you look over your life and you look over the things that you are interested in, it may be even in the form of a hobby. It may be in the form of something real light that you wouldn't connect it to fulfillment. It might just be something you consider as a stress relief, as jovial. But if you look over and if there's any consistency to things that you like to collect, that's going to give you a clue on some of the things that you may be leaning towards. For example, if a person is a collector, if a female is a collector, and I say female, I guess a male would be a collector, could be a collector of Chinaware, but I don't have that in mind. But if you are a collector of fine china, everywhere you go, every city you go into, every country you visit, you like to bring back Chinaware, right? And so you collect it to such a degree to where you have a greater set, or you have a greater list of sets than anybody you know. And you know the differences between them. You know where they came from. You know the cultures that are represented. You understand the difference, how big they are, how small they are. That gives you, and that might be a real light example, but it may give you a little key into your personality, a little view, a window into your functionality. Maybe you're a collector of cars, little cars, miniature cars. You're a collector of those. But then as you collect them, you understand that you are learning different types of vehicles, different models, different years. You're gaining knowledge. Maybe you like to collect books. Maybe that's what you're a collector of. Maybe you collect records. You have a vast knowledge of songs, artists, dates, times. Whatever it is that you collect, this is my point in that. I don't want to develop that too much, but my point is that anytime that we have invested time, even if it's for entertainment, even if it's for just interest, anytime that we have invested time in collecting things and knowing about things and getting different versions of those things and being able to recount where we got them from, what they're connected to in history, all that, back in the day, I guess they still do that, the collecting of baseball cards and that kind of stuff, or if they collected comic books. Whatever it is you collect, you begin to start moving in up the ranks to expertise. So it doesn't mean that because you collected comic books, you're going to be a superhero. It doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is that you have resident knowledge, expert knowledge that can be translated over into something of means, whether it is you being able to have, say, you get eventually called on a show to talk about different things as far as a historian or be an expert, you know, witness, or, and I'm not talking about expert witness like in a courtroom, but you would be able, you know, when we watch the show, like I like to watch reels when they talk about the real life stories of people, and then you have the expert historian or the commentator or, you know, the reporter who can speak on the matter because they're experts in it. So that's what I'm talking about. So that could be in the form of media, or that could just be in the form of being helpful in the community. The more you know in a particular thing, the more people can pull on you and rely on you and direct people to you, and then send you to other people based on the things that you know and the things that they know you know. So in a lot of times we brand ourselves by the things we're known for collecting. You know, we start talking to people and then we start telling them about what we have collected. We start telling them about the things that we have. So that's something to look at. It might seem light, but it's very insightful. I was reading the book Mastery, and he was talking about how, you know, some of these scientists and were known for collecting all this different specimen, right? And I think it was Darwin, and just, you know, going to different places and seeing the distinctions and the variations, but also the similarities and, you know, all this stuff. And so your collective knowledge will end up bringing you to new insights that other people don't have. One thing, because they're not thinking about it. It's not in their face, and they haven't built up years and years of studying one thing. Let me just go on because I didn't want to stay on it too long. The other thing is, what do you see in detail? Granularity. What do you see in detail? That's another key for you to understand what it is that your purpose is, or what you can find purpose in. What are the things that you can see in detail, or what kind of things can you make distinctions in readily? For example, a person that's a singer, what might make them a lot easier or a lot better than the next person is that they are able to make distinctions when they're singing. Distinctions between notes. Distinctions between volume. Distinctions between, you know, how the texture of their voices. They know how to make the distinctions. Or even if you're talking about somebody who's a rapper, they know how to distinguish between tempos. They know how to change flows. They know how to find words and bend words to make one word rhyme with a word that it doesn't regularly rhyme with. But because they are students of language, students of sound, students of rhythm, you know, and also they know how to make words match and mean something that they wouldn't regularly mean because of the context they put it in. Distinctions. Whatever you can make distinctions in, whatever you see distinctions in. You know, there are people who, the reason why some people are great interior decorators is because they can make distinctions that other people can't make. They can see how things are placed. They can see how things work in something. If you're looking at a picture, you might see a little light yellow in the picture, and you might see that, you know, making the wall yellow, you know, brings out the yellow in the picture. Somebody else may not see that. You might see how just, you know, the obvious thing that somebody else might say, this matches, the obvious thing matches, but you're going to go with something a little bit different to make it special, right? Whatever we can make distinctions in and see in detail and move in details, those are the things we're better at. Those are the things we're stronger in. The things that some people make distinctions between ideas. See, because where there is no distinctions, it's a blur. Where there is no distinction, it's all muddy. It's all the same. So distinctions, it's like cutting through a path or cutting through something to make it plain, make it clear. A distinction is what allows you to categorize things. You go into a junky room. right? But then you can go in and begin to categorize things and put them in their proper place. If we use a biblical example, when God said for Adam to name the animals, all of them were animals, or all of them were animated beings, but he was there to make distinctions, to judge, to discern the difference and categorize things and name them according to how they operated. He was able to see and name them according to their distinctions. So for you, if you really want to know, well, what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I'm strong in? What is it that I prosper in? Think about the things that you make distinctions in more readily. There are other things that you just lump together because your mind doesn't want to think about it, because you're not interested. You know, for me, I won't say I hate, that's a strong word. I've never excelled in math growing up. So you could be talking about addition, subtraction. You could be talking about multiplication or whatever else. You could be talking about algebra. I can do what I need to do to live, to survive. But when you start talking about all that extra stuff, I don't care. You could be talking a different language for all I care, because those distinctions my mind doesn't want to make because I'm not interested in it. So, and you notice your mind will do that. The mind always will try to simplify things and make it easier for you so it can utilize energy in the right place. So your mind says, I don't care about that. So like it could even be in a relational situation. You're talking to somebody you know and they're talking stuff that you're not interested in. It could all just be blah, blah, blah. You're not making distinctions because you don't really care, because you just want them to be quiet. Right? So you make distinctions because you're interested, because, you know, you're alerted, you're focused on that. So I'm saying that to say you can learn about what it is you naturally, or what it is you've trained yourself to focus on based on the distinctions you've made. All right, so that's another thing. And the last thing is, what irritates the heck out of you? What is very irritating to you? You know, sometimes that's a great clue to finding out what it is you should be doing. Because it means there's something in you that's taking responsibility for it, something in you that's personally engaged, something in you that moves you to emotion because you see something happening. And a lot of times we like to, whenever those things are in us and we don't know what it is, we begin to start telling people they need to do this, they need to do that. But really it's something in us that we're unsettled by because we haven't stepped into that. So it's very important for you to step in to that thing or those things that you're being drawn to. Going back over it again, things that you're being drawn to. Look at the things that you've collected over and over and over again. Things that you collect. I'm not talking about just physical collections. I'm talking about even ideas, ideals. I'm talking about judgments. I'm talking about just the things that surround you over and over again because you keep gathering things regarding that. What is it that you're collecting? That's a clue. Another thing, once again, what do you see in detail? Not broadly, not, ambiguously, but what are the things you begin to start speaking specific about? What are the things you begin to start talking about? Levels and dimensions and angles and shapes. What are things that you can turn around? You can break them all the way down into millions of pieces, and then you can properly assemble them back together because that's the level of detail that you understand them. Those are the things, we can do a whole lot, but everything isn't the thing that really moves us to the point where we become masters, where we take the time to break them down and build them back up. And I'm giving another example on that. Sometimes people say, people beat around the bush when they're talking. And some people hate that. Get to the point. Don't beat around the bush. Get to the point. But what they're saying is, I'm not interested in all that other stuff. I just want you to give me the meat, But the thing that you're really passionate about, you want all the other frills as well. Give an example. I like watching boxing when I'm watching boxing, I like to hear what the commentators are saying. I don't just like to watch the boxing. I like to hear what the corner is saying in the corner. I want to hear what the corner's saying to the boxer. I'm listening to hear what the boxer's saying back. I want to hear what the commentators are saying. I want to hear how the crowd is reacting to it. I don't just want to see the match. Why? Because I'm caught up in the whole sport is not just the action, it's the culture. So whenever, and this is another good point I'm bringing out right now, you caught that, is whenever you find yourself in that kind of vein where you are interested in the whole culture of the thing, not just the thing itself, then you know that's something you need to pursue. You're meant to be an influencer in that. And the last thing, like I said, what irritates you, the things that just aggravate you to no end, it's an indication that there's something in you that you need to accomplish. What that has to do with that. It may not always be other people. It might be the conflict within you. You know, when Moses was Moses went and killed the man. But see, it was a deliverer in him. But that he was moved to kill because he didn't understand that. He didn't understand his purpose yet. It was yet to be revealed. All right, good people. Hopefully you can get something from that. If you struggle with knowing, where do I fit what pocket, go through those questions and it might help you. All right, grace and peace. Shalom.